Genshin's character progression system is quite good. You start off from level 1 and eventually work your way up to level 90. This requires Mora, XP papers, and various amounts of materials. Despite this, I think there's an issue for a lot of people right now, which is the fact that character progression has hit a wall. This isn't true for everyone, but I would say it's becoming more and more common. So with that being said, I'll be going over whether the level 90 cap is sufficient enough as it is, how increasing the level cap to 100 will affect both newer and long-term players, and how this will also affect weapons, talents, Ascension, world level, and Spiral Abyss if it were implemented. Then I'll give my opinion on whether Hoyoverse should implement it or not. Starting off, is level 90 good enough? If the topic to increase the level cap to 100 was brought up a year ago, many people were against it because they would have argued that you still need to get talents, weapons, and artifacts leveled up for your characters. And getting someone to 90 can already be quite the investment. Resin is a limited resource that recharges over time and is very valuable. We all wish we could have more resin. But looking into the present day, I think more and more people are getting to a point where their characters are level 90, weapons are level 90, characters have 999 talents, if not triple crowned, and have at least decent artifacts. With that in mind, it's important to talk about newer players as well. Now, I can't give an entirely accurate input on this, as I'm not a newer player myself, but my best guess is that newer players would not mind increasing their character level cap to 100, assuming they plan to play Genshin long term. Some newer players might find it intimidating and the game to be too difficult if this were the case. While this is understandable, keep in mind that you can delay your world ascension and can even decrease your world level if the game is too difficult. I also don't think ascending characters is that difficult once you understand the mechanics of the game. Now for longer term players, I think the majority would want the level cap to be increased to 100. As I mentioned earlier, many people who have been playing for a while have their characters maxed out. At this point, they don't really have a use for their resin anymore. The only use for resin is to reroll artifacts where the RNG is more painful than Xiao's true height. Occasionally, that resin is used to level a new character, but otherwise the majority of resin goes to crippling artifact addiction. Increasing the character level cap to 100 would be something both newer and longer term players can work towards. Moving on, how would this affect weapons, talents, and Ascension? I think Hoyoverse has two options when it comes to weapons. One is that they could keep weapons at level 90 as it is, but then that wouldn't really be consistent with characters. The other option is to also increase the weapon level cap to 100. For people who have maxed out their weapons to 90, this would give a reason to return to weapon domains. As for talents, they could keep it at level 10 if they really wanted, since a lot of people find getting talents to level 10 already difficult. If Hoyoverse really wanted to though, they could increase the level of talents to something like 12. This would make it possible to achieve level 15 with the constellation description, where the maximum level is 15 with the +3 from constellations. In the past, the only way to actually increase talent level, aside from constellations, was through event buffs. For Ascension, if Hoyoverse were to follow the Ascension pattern, this would also give one Acquaint Fate for free. They would also have to implement 7th Ascension talent, though I don't think they will because there are so many characters already. Coming up with one Ascension talent for every character probably is not something they had in mind. But regardless, it would also give every character higher base stats, making them a lot stronger in combination with weapons, talents, and artifacts. Now this leads me to my next point, world level. Some of the Genshin community, if not most, have wanted world level 9 for quite some time, as they find world level 8 to be too easy. Increasing the strength of characters and weapons would be a great reason to implement world level 9, and maybe even world level 10. I do understand that Genshin is supposed to be a casual game, so Hoyoverse probably doesn't want to make the overworld too difficult. In that case, they could still keep the highest world level at 8 with the level cap still increasing to 100. Or they could make world level 9 and above optional. This would make the game easier for those who find it too difficult, and those who find the game to be too easy have the option for more difficulty. And finally, the Spiral Abyss. If Hoyoverse wants to make the Spiral Abyss easier, they could just leave it as it is, while implementing the level cap increase to 100. Or they could make the challenges more difficult to compensate for the increase in level cap. For the casual player base, I think keeping the Spiral Abyss the same difficulty while also maintaining the level increase would make people more interested in the Spiral Abyss. For those who try hard and try to clear the Spiral Abyss as fast as possible, or hit the highest number possible, this would allow possibilities for new records to be set. So overall, I personally think increasing the level cap for characters is a great idea. It would give a reason to spend resin on upgrading characters again instead of rerolling artifacts, only to end up completely disappointed. Weapons and talents have room to be increased in level as well, and ascending once again provides an opportunity to give another quaint fate. And speaking of rewards, it would give a reason for them to finally continue with the Adventurer's Handbook rewards. That thing hasn't been updated at all for the chapters. Now it's important to keep in mind that I'm a long-term player, so my opinion might be unfair for newer or casual players. Objectively speaking though, I do think Hoyoverse should implement it in a way where it's not penalizing if you aren't someone who has been playing for a while, or if you simply don't want to grind to level 100. The most important thing to keep in mind is that if Hoyoverse ever does decide to implement this, they will do it in a way where the game stays casual friendly. I'm perfectly fine with that. At the end of the day though, it's Hoyoverse's choice if they want to implement it or not. But I think it's always nice to have a discussion about it. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think they should increase it to 100? That's all for this one. Until next time.